welcome back to fantasy football yet again. Our last episode was our divisional power rankings. This episode will be Week 1 start and sit-ins.
And if you haven't heard of our channel, hit the big red button below. Okay, so for Week 1, our quarterback starts, they are Marcus Mariota, Matt Stafford, and Sam Bradford.
Now, coming from a Vikings fan, I expect and hope that Sam Bradford plays very well against a really bad Saints defense. Now, not only that, but he would be a really good option if you have a guy like, Buccaneers quarterback, Winston. There we go.
Yep. And
what?
Speaking of Winston, he's one of our sits along with Joe Flacco and Andy Dalton.
Now, Joe Flacco, his status is really up in the air for this week, and that is one reason to sit him, but also that four-player offense is depleted of all their resources, really. There's no one to throw to. All right, so starting off the running backs, our starts that we have this week, we have Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt, and also Marshawn Lynch.
Now, before you accuse us of putting Kareem Hunt in as a start after he played, you are false. This video was recorded Wednesday before the Thursday night game. But if you have him in your lineup, you were really lucky because he exploded.
And then for sits at running back, we start off with Joe Mixon, Jay Ajayi, and then
Darren McFadden.
Yeah, Darren McFadden.
Well, let's start with Joe Mixon because Ajayi and McFadden probably won't play because Ezekiel Elliott's in, and then because of Hurricane Irma for Ajayi. But Mixon is third on the depth chart there in Cincinnati, which I think is kind of surprising based on where he was drafted and their lack of trust in Gio Bernard and Jeremy Hill. But don't start Joe Mixon, whatever you do this week. Alright, moving right along to the wide receivers. We're going to begin with Pierre Garcon, Eric Decker, and Samuel Watkins all as starts.
Now, we have been talking about Pierre Garcon all offseason, and we expect him to do well in Week 1 because he is going to be the main guy who gets targets in San Fran's offense. So expect him to put up a lot of good numbers.
Definitely. And then we have quite the extensive list here for sits for wide receivers. But we have all of the guys in the Tampa Bay Miami game, obviously. And then we have Mike Wallace and Jeremy Maclin for the Ravens, and pretty much that whole wide receiver core, just because we don't know if Flacco's going to play or not. And then Michael Thomas for the Saints.
Michael Thomas might be a little surprising, but he's going up against Xavier Rhodes, and history says that whoever goes up against Xavier Rhodes does not do well in that week fantasy-wise.
Definitely. So sit Michael Thomas, Rhodes closed.
All right, for starts at tight end, we have Kyle Rudolph and Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham is looking like his old self again in Seattle. They have a really good matchup against the Packers this week, so look for Jimmy Graham to score double-digit fantasy points.
And for sits this week, we have Jason Witten and Hunter Henry.
Yeah, you're going to want to sit Hunter Henry just because he's not only because he's number 2 on the depth chart behind Antonio Gates, but also because Antonio Gates is going for some sort of record. I can't remember what it is, but he needs one touchdown to get it. And until he gets that touchdown, I think they're going to force feed the ball to Antonio Gates and leave Hunter Henry out. So sit Hunter Henry just this week. So some defenses to start. We've got Houston, Buffalo, and Detroit.
Now, Buffalo, you're probably wondering why we said to start them, considering they've lost a lot of pieces in the offseason. But they're going against the New York Jets, probably the worst team in football this season. So expect them to have a good fantasy week.
Yeah, and then some sits. We've got some big names here. Chiefs, Vikings, and Seattle.
The Vikings defense, they have not looked that great in the offseason. And not only that, but they're going up against the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees at the helm. So expect them to not do so well this week. All right, start off with a kicker here. We have Brandon McManus, Kai Forbath, and Chris Boswell.
There. So Brandon McManus is the kicker for the Broncos. He has a Monday night matchup against the Chargers this week. Look for McManus to score within the 7 to 11 point range for kickers.
All right, so now sits, we have Stephen Hauska, Adam Vinatieri, and also Young Ho Koo.
Yeah, Young Ho Koo. No, he's not a programmer for the NFL. He is the new Chargers kicker. He replaced Josh Lambo, but I think first game jitters are going to get him this time. So sit him this week, but definitely start him the rest of the season. I mean, you can't not start him because of his name, right? So, just a quick addition. We're going to each do a bold prediction real quick. My bold prediction this week is that the Niners are going to beat the Panthers. That's right. Cam Newton might not start because of a shoulder injury. But other than that, the Panthers have a really weak secondary. And I think Pierre Garcon is going to exploit that weakness a little bit. So look for San Francisco to sneak by Carolina.
Wow, way to steal my number one prediction. Okay, so up a second, the Cleveland Browns are going to wipe the floor with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is going to lead to Ben Roethlisberger retiring at the end of the season.
Okay, so I guess that's what I get for taking yours, right?
Yep.
That was Fantasy Football and 5. Thank you for watching. We'll deliver all our fancies in 5 minutes less because honestly, who would want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic? So that was our Week 1 Stardom Sit-em. Next week's obviously going to be Week 2, so stay tuned for that and don't forget to subscribe.